Welcome to another episode of Conversations with Lamp. I'm your host, James Lampkin, and my guest today is the founder of the fragrance brand Hugh Mayer, Dr. Derrick Robinson. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me, brother. I really appreciate this time.
Oh man, listen, we go way back. It's always an honor and a pleasure to have you on, brother.
Yeah, yes.
How you been, man?
I've been doing well. Been doing well. This has been a journey, interesting enough. There's some ups and downs to it, things like that. But it's been a journey just kind of getting everything in life in general, and some of this conversation is gonna be about life in general, but getting everything in order and keeping it in order has just been a journey. So I'm enjoying the process, you know, and that's all I can say really, just learning to enjoy every day. I get 24 hours to go back at it. So I'm good.
First of all, man, congratulations for launching the brand.
Thank you, man. Appreciate that.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be honest. We know each other really well, so it kind of came out of left field.
It did for a lot of people. And I understand that because one, what is a 6'4" black and bald man who looks like this doing making perfumes and colognes and things like that? So it seemed like a tough sell to people, and I get that. The image doesn't. I don't look like France. I don't look like Italy. Where all those big major brands come. I certainly don't look like Louis Vuitton or Versace. But why would you invest in a person look like this? So yeah, it was a good thing, and it's something that it was a talent, I guess, that I kind of kept hidden from people. You know, I don't know why, but I've been a connoisseur of colognes all my life. That was when my father used to give me money to go shopping for clothes. I would get music, a video game, and and some cologne. And then come home and get fussed at, but I smell good. My first bottle of Pierre Cardin back in the 80s till now, to Creed. I've been spending a whole lot of money on like fragrances.
I'm gonna back up because you said you don't look the part. I mean, to me, every time I see you, you always dress sharp, clean and nice fedoras at times.
Yes.
I'm not surprised that you would wear a cologne. Like that's a little. I was a little
Yeah.
surprised by that statement.
Well, that you would wear cologne is one thing, right?
Hmm.
But that you would actually be about making fragrances and making these blends and things like that. I don't look like the guys that come out of France and the guys that come out of Italy. I hope I'm saying it the right way. But
Yeah.
when you picture in your mind, this is a high-end cologne, guess who made it? I don't think I'm popping up in your mindset. But,
Okay.
I don't have that aesthetic, but, I do have knowledge of the game. I do have knowledge of the perfume industry. I have been engaged in it for a long time, and I've taken classes and done my own studies and things like that. So I'm pretty well versed in the intricacies of fragrance making.
I'm kind of stuck on that part because just this whole look thing. Like I
Mhm.
get what you're saying, right? But I guess we would have to you would have to be one of the ones to change that narrative. I guess.
And indeed, and I'll say this: there's a cadre of people who are actually doing that because once again, you think of Gianni Versace, you think of Tom Ford, you think of all these guys. They have an image, they have a look, they have an aesthetic, um, and it goes with white male or European male of a certain kind of orientation,
Hmm.
right? And I'm not getting into all of that conversation, but when you start thinking of black brands, which I'm discovering a lot of black niche brands are coming up. When you think about savoir faire in Atlanta or goods in New York, you're starting to see a different look of people who are producing these fragrances. And it's speaking to an urban psychographic experiencer, that wants to go places and wants to smell and capture that mood and things like that. So we're emerging and we don't look like everyone else in the industry. And it's a challenge, but it's also a thing that makes you stand out from the rest.
How did you even get into it?
Man, wow. So years ago, I had a Groupon for a perfumery class in Charlotte. And I don't know why, but for some reason my wife couldn't go. But it was like, you go ahead, go anyway, stuff like that. So I went, did it. It was cool. I understood some of the basics of it. Got a chance to make my own little small little 1 ounce bottle of whatever. And that was cool. So during this last year and such, I've been going through a divorce. That's why I said we talk about a little life too. And I
Hmm.
was talking to my son actually. My son was like, Dad, what makes you happy? And I paused. He was like, see, that's what I'm talking about. And then he went on to say, Dad, you got away from your creativity. You got away from everything that made you you. You know, get back to that. So I got back to music, getting into music. I started doing rhythm and bingo shows and things like that. It's a whole nother monster. And then I was like, what is the one thing I can create that relationship does not have a hold on? Because we shared the rhythm bingo together. We went to the events in Florida when we lived there, but then I made my own. So when we went to when I went to the idea of fragrances, I happened to be thinking about this while I was in my bathroom. And there's a cabinet in my bathroom, actually two shelves full of colognes. And I'm looking at them like, I done spent a whole lot of money on this, you know? And I've got to tighten up on my money too, because, you got to adjust the life with paying for lawyers and all this kind of stuff. So I was like, I can pursue this. I remember taking that class. So I had to refresh myself a little bit. I live in Greensboro now. I couldn't find a perfumery class in this immediate area. I did find one back in Charlotte where I went to before, but now they want $195 to go there. So I was like, ooh, can't do that. So I started going and exploring things on like YouTube and started looking in some books I purchased on the art of scent and things like that. So I tried to get the basics down. And then I just ordered a kit and started just kind of playing with blends, you know, things like that. Order all the equipment I needed to get to start just making blends. At first, it was just creativity. It was fun. It wasn't a business at that time. It was just something I loved doing. And then creating stuff, and I would let people who came by the house smell it. And what do you think about this? Some people were honest. Some of them smelled like cleaner stuff. Like something you clean your kitchen with or clean your bathroom with. Some stuff smelled really good. And I started just, okay, I made about, at that time, about 30 some blends. So we started narrowing it down like, okay, if you can produce this in a perfume, I may buy that. You produce this in a cologne, I can mess with this. So I started just kind of wheeling it down, and then I learned about how to make body oils and stuff like that, and started to order that equipment and materials to make that. And next thing you know, it was like, okay, I don't made it. I gave out some samples. And this one sister, I gave her a sample and she kept coming back for more.
Mm.
It was like it seemed like she was going like I gave a little 2 ounce body oils. She was using like every day. And she would come back like, you got more. I told a friend she loved it because she smelled it on me. Do you got more? And then I was like, okay, cool. Let's do that. Next, like, okay, this is becoming something I need to kind of understand better. So the idea of business came in play. But one thing I had to be careful of, because I've done this before, was when you create the business, you start getting away from the creativity.
Mm.
So I never want to lose that because when you're a business by yourself, and you know this to be true, you're your marketing person, you're your finance person, you're your CEO, you're your CIO, you're all these roles, and you're getting away from creator.
Mm.
And I want to make sure that I stayed on the creative end just as much as I stayed on the business end. You know, so in this age of technology, I employ some AI. I have a whole software thing I purchased, and I got some AI agents, and they create my marketing stuff. They create business idea and developments and stuff like that. So they keep that end alive. I just go approve, 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 or if I have an idea, throw it out there. But I've cut that time in half so I can put more time in my creativity piece. Now, mind you, I still got a career, you know, so
Right.
I still got to be responsive to that. So I've been making sure that I'm on that end just as much as I'm on this end, but I have to keep the creative energy going because I don't want to hate what I'm doing because of the business aspect.
So how do you balance that?
You have to force yourself to.
Mm,
I could easily see getting bogged down in the business aspect, and this goes for anybody who've ever stuck out on your own and tried to do something. You can get on the business end and lose your creative focus, but you have to force yourself to do the creative stuff too, and set that business to the side for a moment, but get on that creative end because if you're not creating anything, what you selling, you
mm,
know? So that's the art of it. You just have to figure out that balance, but sometimes it's not going to come to you because you're forcing you've got to force that. The business thing will overwhelm anybody, right? There's a reason why we hire assistants and we hire, staff and things like that. So the leader or the thinker has to be on the thinking end of the business and not on the everyday management of the business.
Did you have any fear or reservation about going into business?
There's always fear.
Okay.
There's always fear. I have I've always been an idea person, and some of them ideas hit, some of them didn't. Some of them hit and didn't last long, and there's always that fear. And then complicate that with you're going through a divorce. Somewhere along the line, your ex is going to find out about this. And if you fail, it's going to be one more thing you failed at.
Mm,
And while I shouldn't be thinking about that, it's always on the mind that there may be people out there waiting on the failure, you
man.
know. And that kind of it hurts to think like that. But yeah, sometimes it motivates me because like, okay, I've got to do this. And I got to do this because it's the right thing to do. And the heart is pure in doing it. But also, I've and this sounds selfish and probably the wrong way to take this, but I also got to let people know that I can get things done.
Hmm.
That when I set my mind to something, I get it done. And it's more so to me. I'm not in a competition with anybody, but I'm also trying to prove to myself um, that when I want to do something, I can get it done.
Why would that be viewed as selfish, though?
Because some people will look at it like maybe selfish is the wrong choice of terms, but shallow would definitely be one. That
Even
you're not,
shallow.
yeah,
Well,
but you're not doing this for the love. You're doing this to prove something. And I'm not doing anything to prove anything. Like I
mm,
said, if I never sold a bottle of cologne, perfume, body oil, now body mist, I would be happy knowing that I can make the scent I like and I can wear it on my own and go places and people will be like, whoa, what's that? And I'm like, I made my own, and things like that. So this those things like I had to make sure that the love was still there and the creativity was still there. And it just wasn't bogged down in the business because you can get tied into that. And next thing you know, you're up under you're under your means, or over your means. So I just had to make sure that I was in it for the right reasons, and that proving something to somebody was no longer the issue.
what gave you the confidence to know that you could succeed?
Whew, a good one. So one, I've always believed in me. I've always willing to bet that no matter what, I'll be okay. That's the first thing I had to tell myself. No matter what, I'll be okay. Um, I've been through therapy, and I've had a lot of like, you know, depression, doubt, and all that kind of stuff. And one therapist said, like, you have all these things you feel, but when you look at it in reality, name a challenge you didn't meet and go past. Well, there it is. Despite everything I felt about myself, about life, about where I am in this moment, every challenge I've had, I've met. So I can do this, and I figured, the way I know how to do it because, and we'll talk in more depth because these high end colognes and perfumes, they may use like 35 different notes to make one cologne, and some people love it, some people don't. Sometimes it's very simple. If somebody likes vanilla and they also like amber and they also like sandalwood, find the right combination that works, and there you go. So it doesn't have to be overly complicated because people just like what they like. You know,
Mhm.
so you find out what people like, or you find a feeling that you want to get with it, and then you share it with people and get their feedback, and that'll let you know whether to go forward or not.
I'm gonna tell you what's it was interesting to me, right? Because you know how far we go back. We go back 30 years. And
Man,
I've seen you grow into the man you are. starting off in the education field, going back into the education field, all your credentials, everything you've done, and to still hear you say that, you had like you were not sure,
Mhm.
you like that. That's really shocking to me to hear that, because I guess because my opinion of you is so high.
Yeah. But I'll tell you this, it's always existed. And I think, and I don't want to put myself in that level, but you hear tales of people who like perform at high levels in life, and they kind of got to get in a zone to do it.
Mm,
And part of that zone is couched with fear um, and nervousness. What every time I taught a class, I was nervous before it because I
mm,
planned this idea. Now I want to see if it works. Even today, I've been teaching for nearly 30 years. Even today, my classes at the university, I don't talk to anybody an hour before my class because I just got to get in that zone. The same way you see like people in like the walkway when they're coming out into the field in like a basketball game or football game, stuff like that. They get in the zone. They get in that, and they can't talk to nobody. You know, I've had that feeling that whenever I had to do it, I had to bite down, I had to focus, I had to have a blackout period where I could just get into the zone and I'm going to do it. Even with this, you know, before I sit down to make a fragrance or to start playing, experiment with blends, I have to really get in the zone for that. I have to get in my mentality. Now, it seems weird because there's no like opponent there, there's no person there, but it's me trying to get focused and see what works and start bringing ideas together and then seeing in reality if it works. And this trial and error. You know, to make one blend, I may experiment with like 14 different scents, you know, and then seeing which one works. So I got combinations of different ones. And it's based on drops. So I made like 30 drops of this and 15 drops of that, then put it all together, it don't work. So maybe if
mm.
I do it 10 on this end and 30 on this end and 10 on another end, maybe that'll work. So it's different like iterations you got to do to see if it works. And then the one that hits, you know.
Do you ever get frustrated trying to make all these plans work?
I don't. That's the
Mm.
love part. That's the creativity part. When I'm doing that, even the experiments doesn't really bother me, because it's the creative end of it. It's just knowing that, okay, there's a right combination out there and I'm gonna find it, you know. But even in the mistakes, it's something good, So I've never had a person say something was terrible. They just said it smelled like something you clean your kitchen with, or something, So sometimes they turn into pine sol, but but I've never had a person tell me it was nasty. You should stop, you know.
Mm.
But when they're saying like, okay, I could wear this in the winter. Okay, I could wear this on a nice day outside. I could wear this. If you can make a lighter version of this, I can really rock this all day, you know. Or so I hear people in side conversations after I've given them like the sample, like body oils. I hear them later in conversation like, yeah, you bought Derek's body oil. Yeah, I use that as soon as I step out the shower. Just, still kind of damp and put that on and it lasts me all day. And I'm moisturized and all this kind of stuff. So I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I'm hearing this as a side conversation. I'm like, okay, I like that. But those kind of things keep me on the creative end. It was just about marketing and business and, you know, ads and all this kind of stuff. You can waste a lot of money and a lot of failure and heartbreak spending money on an ad that don't lead to nothing.
One thing you mentioned was like, this is something I've never really understood. So there's a real thing like summer scents and winter scents. That's a real thing.
It is. It's very much a thing. But I'll tell you this: it's really what you like. Some people have the scent they like. If you're a Louis Vuitton imagination person, I don't care if it's a snowstorm or a 90-degree day, you wearing that. You know, if it's Killian's, something like that, you love it what you love. And that's the thing you have to understand. There are certain things that smell heavier and they're more suited for like winter. And there's some things that are a
Oh,
little more fruitier or floral and things like that. And they just feel like a summer day or a spring day. You know,
oh, okay. Because
but
I
it's really,
always wonder, where did that come from?
yeah. It's the perfume industry, telling us that this makes a good scent and why. And I get it. It goes like along with the fashion industry. The fashion industry will tell us what color is popping this year and stuff like that. So it's those kinds of minds that are telling us this is the scent for this type of activity and stuff like that. And for the most part, it makes a lot of sense,
Okay.
you know. But once again, if you like what you like, you wear it all year round. In 1986, I wore Obsession. I don't care what was going on, you know. But yeah, that's but that's the tone of it. Like there's what experts say are the things to do, but you have to live an everyday life. So it's what you like and your preference. When I do perfume parties, I tell people if you like vanilla and blueberry, then you work that. You know, you ain't got to do 30 different notes. You ain't got to do all these other things. You find what you like and you work with that because even in the wine industry, the best sommelier will tell you that red wine is the standard for fine wine, but
Mm.
the largest selling wine is crisp white
Oh,
because people don't care about what the sommelier is saying. You know, they like what they like and they
right.
get what they like. You know, so you cater to what people like, and you know, I give respect to those people who run the industry because they've been doing it for such a long time and they know what they're doing. They know what I'm sure they know what they're talking about. But if a person just likes uh, vanilla and white musk, cool. You know, I can do that.
Let's talk about your scents. Now, what scents do you have available right now?
So right now we're running four brands. We're producing right now. I'm producing a second brand, a fifth brand we're coming out with. But our signature lines were for women's Humera Affirmation, which is it's a three-part thing. It's vanilla, sandalwood, and rose. Very simple, three. Now, tradition will tell you got to have a top note, a middle note, and a base note. That's what tradition says. Top notes go away really fast. They come along when you ever spray a perfume or cologne, and that initial smell you get, that's the top note. It's going to come on very
Oh,
strong
okay.
at first, but it's going to fade. And after a while, what remains is the base note, maybe hints of the middle note. That's
Mm.
why when you spray something, you got to give it time. When you see people wave it, because they're trying to dry it up to make the top note kind of fade in and settle in. So
Oh.
that's the affirmation. On the woman's side, we have assurance part two, which is a little more traditional perfume because it has I think about 12 different like notes in it. On the men's side, we have Humera Ascension, and Ascension is very simple. It's a combination of vanilla and white musk, and it's by far that and affirmation the simplest ones I've made are the most popular ones that we have.
Mm.
Proof again that you can go by tradition and what the experts say, but people like what they like. And also on the men's side, we have Assurance One. Once again, is a heavy, like traditional cologne type of thing. And I think like nine different notes in there.
Oh.
And people will smell it like, okay, that smells like a traditional, a regular cologne. And you get the little blue ocean in there. You get a little scent of apple. You get some like amber and I think it's a leather in there or something like that. But you get that, and like when it settles, it's great. Like in a few hours, when you smell it again, or someone smells it on you, it's reached this, you know, its height, you know.
Okay.
But that's the thing, like you have to colognes and things like that are things that take their time because all of the notes have to work a certain way. That's why I always tell people don't make a judgment on the first sniff.
Oh.
Let it settle, check back before the top note goes away. And the top note can last anywhere, depending on the amount you use. It could last anywhere from like an hour or two to like 4 hours.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah.
How did you come up with the names?
Okay. So the term humeur is French for mood. You have to remember, I'm going through the divorce at this time. So and I'm not ashamed to say it. I've been going through a lot of mental health issues and depression and stuff like that. And this was my way of fighting out of it. So all of the second names. So it's Humere Ascension, Humere Affirmation, Humere Assurance, Humere Calm, coming soon. All of those are the opposites of mental health labels. So, for
Mm,
example, depression, ascension, self doubt, affirmation, you know,
mm.
insecurity, assurance. So, I took all those mental health labels that people that say they feel, and I flipped them to the opposite. So, anxiety, the opposite will be calm. And that's the newest line coming out very soon.
Wow, that's
So,
deep.
and one of the things I also wanted to do was I wanted to support mental health agencies in the state of North Carolina, particularly in Greensboro, the ones that I may know. So what I've been doing, I haven't secured contracts yet, or like agreements, but I've just been taking quarterly, the money I've been making off of this, and I've been giving like $5 for every cologne and perfume bottle to a mental health agency within the state of North Carolina and especially in Greensboro. I've just been going through their
Mm.
site and just donating. Um, but I'm also working with my AI people to develop, an agreement to actually send out and say, hey, you've probably been looking at this particular company, Humare, who's been giving like $5 and $10 here and $20 there. This is what we do. This is our purpose, and we would like to partner with you to donate. You know, can we use your logo and all those kinds of things, kind of make it official. But that's the goal.
Before your divorce, were you this much of a mental health advocate?
I was definitely. Um, I've been through a whole lot. I mean, first of all, it's my second divorce. So my first divorce was the first time I saw a therapist.
Okay.
And it wasn't even about the divorce necessarily, it was about my children, you know, and me coping with being a long distance dad, you know, and the contradictions of when I was working with y'all, I had to come in there every day with a smile on my face.
Yeah.
And then I get in the car, look in my rearview mirror, and see two empty car seats.
Damn.
Yeah. So you have to go through that kind of stuff, man. So that was my first kind of foray, and I've never been afraid to say that. I know we have, people say we have this stigma in our community, and thankfully, people are moving away from that and admitting that, sometimes I need help. And I mean, I don't need help with a homeboy, because as homeboys, we got a way to solve each other's problems.
Hmm.
They may not always be healthy,
Right.
you know,
Right.
but I needed somebody objectively to hear me, let me get it off my chest, and give me new ways to think about things. Like I didn't expect you to solve my issues, but I needed someone to give me a new way to think about things or question me through stuff, you know, and I could begin to start seeing and breaking down certain items and experiences that I've had and look at them the right way.
I'll say this. I truly believe that it takes a lot of courage to say, hey, I'm not in a good place. I need some help.
Oh yeah, and particularly that we take scholars as black men, you know, you're expected to be you're expected to work till you die. In fact, we define manhood on working and income.
Hmm.
Which simply means no matter what, you got to get up and go. The sun get up, you get up too. You can't have a weekday. You got to play life on all Madden. You can't play life on rookie mode. And the one thing, the tragic thing we teach of black men is that there ain't no room for mistakes. You know, our mistakes feel tragic. People
Mm.
with resources and networks, their mistakes is just Tuesday. You know, it's not tragic. So we walk through this whole earth like we're targeted. These people don't like us. Sometimes our women don't like us, and sometimes the society wants to kill us. They'd rather us be dead. They treat us like ants, like we're so dehumanized. Killing us is like killing an ant. People kill an ant, don't feel nothing about it. We've been
Mm.
rapping about killing each other for years. Ain't nobody really no problems about that. But rap about killing somebody else, you know,
Mm.
So it's those kinds of things. But navigating this is just saying, listen, I need help. I sought after therapists that were black men because I can't divorce the black male experience from my life. And that doesn't mean that a black woman can't be my therapist. That doesn't even mean that a white person can't be my therapist. But in going into it, I have to trust that the therapist understands some of the things I'm about to tell you. You know, and hopefully they've come from some type of common experience. So I have been lucky to have at least two black male therapists, and they're different, but they understand how I see the world. So they understand how my actions would have been, and that helps out a lot.
Well, now that you've had two, and I know you said you don't have to have a black man as a therapist, but because you had two and it's gone so well, could you really see yourself going away from that?
No, no.
Okay.
I, and I say that because I think that if you're just qualified and you're willing to do the work as a therapist, you should be able to help people. If you're willing to step outside of yourself and see things from another person's cultural memory and cultural lens and understand what it takes for them to get up every day and be a man, then you're qualified to do that. Also, do I believe every black male therapist automatically gets a pass? Of course not. Because remember, all of us are the recipients of fine European educations.
Hmm.
So we have to connect them to our experiences. But if you just went by the textbook, yeah, you were taught about European experiences. That's you. And that's okay. We all had a European education. I went to HBCU and got a European education, you know, but I also got experiences to help me culture that and see that from my lens. So I think, without knowing the therapist and checking them out, you know, anyone could do this and anyone could fail at it. So you have to make sure you check out the person you choose to put your energy into and also open up to.
The times you mentioned that you were going through therapy, unfortunately, you were also going through a divorce. Was there ever a time you were in therapy and it didn't involve a relationship, like going through a divorce?
Yes, I
Okay.
did I did because of just my work productivity. I was one who believed that you didn't have to go through therapy because you were in crisis.
Okay.
Um, so, and I remember this because I was watching this TV show Billions on Showtime. Love the show. But one thing about it, because they were in a high stakes industry, like in like financial trades and stuff like that in the stock market, there's a heavy stress environment there. So in that company, Billions, they had a therapist in house that would see the traders and stuff like that. And my thing was, okay, that makes sense for a lot of people. I think a lot of teachers have been in education that if we could have an in-house therapist and you can see them on your planning period and get you through stuff, if it keeps you from going crazy in your next class, do that. If it keeps you from, you know, taking it out on a student because you having a bad day, or you need to reframe because a kid's having a bad day and they did something to you, you know, I think you should do that. So when I went to my therapist at one point in time, it was more so like I want to get and stay on track with my work and my career and my professionalism. I got all these stressors. I got to research. I got to teach. I got to put all this in perspective, and I'm struggling being productive because I was procrastinating. It was like if I sit down on my computer, I got a million thoughts and I'm thinking about nothing at the same time. you know. So it's like, how do I break that fog to start doing what I got to do? And the therapist was very good at helping me kind of focus myself and you know start breaking things down to smaller accomplishable tasks, because I can sit down and every morning be like, I gotta knock out a paper today. Well, a paper's 30 of research words. It ain't just writing for 30 pages. It's 30 pages of targeted research. Well, that ain't gonna happen in one sitting, but I can knock out 2, 3 paragraphs. I can read some articles and get myself organized and things like that. But if I sit there and think about the overall task, I may get so discouraged that I don't do nothing. And then I
Mm.
pick up my phone, and for the next 3 hours, I'm lost on Facebook. you know. So that's the big thing. I had to put like restrictions on my phone to keep me from accessing certain apps.
Wow.
Because you can lose 2, 3 hours on YouTube.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
easily, right? So you had to organize yourself that way, and I needed help to do that. And luckily, I found a therapist who worked in business before, so he understood organizational management, um, but also then understood how to help me get myself organized and working. And it helped tremendously, you know.
You know, you you are a like a highly intelligent black man, right? And you've been an example for so many black men for, man, we talking about over 30 years, right? Does that ever become overwhelming? Because and then let me tell you why I asked that question. Because there's not going to be a lot of you, a
Mhm.
lot of people, a lot of men like you who, if it's a black student, they like when they sit down and talk to you, immediately they'll feel safe because they understand, the experience of black living.
Yeah.
So does that ever become overwhelming?
There are aspects of it that will, but what I have to do, and let me clear this up. Um, I don't know the firm definition of intelligent. We've discovered now that intelligence can mean many different things. But if you want to qualify that by degrees accomplished, yes, I've done a lot of that. you know, done a lot of that. I got loans to prove it. But one thing I used to do when I was an administrator in Charlotte, I would go by our ISS every day, and it's our in-school suspension, and I would talk to the students there. And what I discovered was some of them were brilliant. They just had misplaced aggression and misplaced frustration that actually was valid. It just didn't work in a traditional classroom.
Mm,
But the ideas, I remember talking to this one kid, Latino kid, and he was talking about how he wanted to be a mathematician. But he kept getting thrown out of every class he had, you know. But when we started talking deeper, you could see where his mind was going. He could actually do that. Raw intelligence under the right circumstances, he could have been morphed into something incredible.
mm,
So I always believe that in my students. I've been blessed to know that there were students in my room who impressed me and made me want to come to class every day to impress them. And it wasn't about being in an honors track or IB or AP. It was some kids in Maryland's tomorrow. It was kids in general ed programs. Just because of their perspective at the world gave me some form of intelligence that I could see. And I wanted to be part of that. I wanted to impact that as much as I could. So when we say that, the frustration of these degrees and things like that, it does get, you know, it gets frustrating because of the expectations. Um, I got to be excellent every day. Every day I've got to be working on something of excellence because I'm Dr. So and so. Everyday excellence on any person is difficult.
mm.
Like if you got to have a hit podcast every time you turn this thing on, you know what I'm saying? Everyone's got to be the Cat Williams Sharp, Shannon Sharp episode. You know,
Right.
that kind of pressure that can make people fold.
Hmm.
And it's also can stress you out. That's an incredible, like if Kanye West had to make College Dropout every time he came to the studio, he'd crack out. Well, kind of did crack out, but
I just
you
want to say,
know,
well, I mean, kind of
but that's
did.
why, but that's why you find people who have achieved that level of greatness, and it's difficult for them to re-enter. I use a lot of hip hop analogies. I
Hmm.
think the expectations put on Andre 3000 is the reason why he'll never record another album
Yeah.
because people are going to parse over every word he says because he's got to be excellent every song. And
Yeah.
everyday excellence is just so difficult to maintain, you know, that I'm allowed to mess up. You know, I should be allowed, like, we know, let's say football coaches, right? All these football coaches are coming from losing teams getting head coach jobs. You
Yeah.
proved that you could lose at one team, but now you get a head coach job at other teams. Like, I wish I could fall up like that. Like, when I come back and reincarnate, I want to come back as a white male, so I can afford to fail and succeed at the same time. Like, I can fall up. you know,
Yeah.
how many years did Jeff Fisher have a losing record and still maintain a job?
Please don't mention that man name to me.
Yeah,
Please. Please. Oh my
exactly, right? So, but we get rid of other coaches because they had a winning season. Like we had a basketball coach, NBA basketball coach, who was number one seed. It was Toronto Raptors. Remember, he
God.
coached there.
I want to say it was Mitchell, if I'm not mistaken.
black coach. He got fired the year he was the number one seed. Like you couldn't do it any better. And then he got fired.
Yeah.
Everyday excellence, man. Every day you got to be doing something incredible, and like that's a whole lot to live with. You know,
Yeah. That's that. Are you still fulfilled with teaching?
I love it. I
Okay.
love the feeling. I love the excitement. I love the nervousness. I love the conversations I have with students. I love when they actually try to correct me on stuff. I love all of that. I do not love quiet classrooms. You know, I love when we are engaged, we're talking, and they're questioning things. They're questioning me even. I'm like, hey, listen, don't be sitting here just because I'm your teacher. You can't challenge me on stuff. Challenge me on this. We had a last semester. We had this long conversation about worksheets. you know, because I hate worksheets. And I had one student like, well, what's so bad about them? We just went back and forth and explained this and stuff like that. But we had an amazing time talking about that because I'm preparing future teachers. You know, and that to me to know that I'm part of the conveyor belt because I'm not the person who gives them everything they need, but I impart a little bit here and there, and then my team also does the same. So when this person is going into the field, they're highly sought after. This last year, the graduating year, I had a student that was being recruited like a football player to different school districts,
Mm.
and like that, she's the number one draft pick. She was literally, I had people calling me, as references, stuff like that. Like, we're trying to get her before. I heard she's looking at Fairfax County. I heard she's looking at this county. I want her to get her before. Like, wow, this feels like she's the number one draft pick.
Wow.
And she's in a school and she's doing amazing. We talked about a month ago. She's doing amazing. She loves every bit of it. That stuff is the reason why I enjoy teaching the way I do.
Any idea how much longer you want to do it?
Well, how much I got to do it? So I say this in joking, but it's probably not far from the truth. As long as I have the brain to do it and the capacity to do it, I will. When I was taught at Morehouse, we had a guy by the name of Dr. Robert Brisbane. He's probably one of my educational heroes. But this guy was 84 years old when he taught us. He
Wow.
was the smoothest, classiest dude you'll ever find. He taught Dr. King when Dr. King went to Morehouse. And he'd
Wow.
sit there, like it was a little stage in our class. We would come and go walk on the stage, and he'd sit there and he's like, yeah, Dr. King sat right there, you know. And it was like, wow, we get to be in this person's presence. He was the coolest dude ever. Every day a suit, every day smooth. And he just walked in, like you could tell he was older in his years, but he was still like there. And as long as I had a mental capacity to do it, I'll do it, And that I get to make money doing that to tell people what I think, you know, and share that and share thoughts with other people and even grow from what they're telling me. It keeps me young, it keeps me alive, you know. You guys kept me young and alive, man.
Yeah. I gotta ask, what's going on with the book?
The book is still going to be made. Right now, I'm in this tenure track race, and I've got to put out certain number of publications because it is a numbers game and things like that. So the book is there. I'm like 4 chapters in out of 10. And the remaining six I got the skeletal versions of, but it's coming out soon. I'm gonna tell you within the year, but I'm promising myself before that. But I've really got like, because I'm tired of it too. I've been working on this thing since 2020, and it's now 6 years in, and or 2021. It's now like 5 years in, and it's got to get out there before I check out. So I've got to. This is gonna be my gift to my kids
Okay.
and to my community. But I'm definitely going to get that done. And that's I promise you that. I'm definitely within the year, and I'm probably aiming for sooner. By the summer, I should be freed up to just do my work. You know, because if I ain't published something by then, it probably ain't getting published. So I need to go ahead and do that because I can sell that book. you know.
I want to end with this because we was talking about mental health and stuff.
Yes.
Where you at today as opposed to when everything with the divorce started?
Oh man. And that's the difficult thing because I'll say this: healing and getting your life back together is not linear. It doesn't just go straight up. It goes up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, and then down, 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 then up, up, up. And some days you'll be great, and some days out of nowhere you're down. Um, right now, and I'm saying this coming off of a few bad days. I don't mourn the relationship.
Okay.
She did whatever she had to do. Cool. We moved on. I now get most sad when I think about what's happened to my life in the last year and a half.
Mm,
I'm not supposed to be in this apartment. I had a 5 bedroom house.
yeah.
I'm not supposed to be here. Things like that. So you're looking at those kinds of things. Like every day, I'm looking at a reminder of what I've been through.
Yeah.
In my entire life, I've never had anything cut off till then. Like,
Yeah.
damn, these lights ain't really coming on. Oh shit, I ain't paid this bill. I gotta wait a few days, or internet's out. I
Yeah.
gotta wait a few days so I get paid and all this other kind of stuff because I'm forking out money to the lawyers. I'm still spending money at the house that we were in. Now I got this apartment and stuff like that. So it's like, you know, thinking about everything you've been through,
Hmm.
like that's the part that makes me sad. So some days I have that brain fog where I just can't get it together. Or those days I'm like incredibly down. Um, and I would tell anybody going through anything like this, it's not gonna be every day 1% better. Some days you're gonna be down, some days you're gonna be up. Ultimately, it will get 1% better, but not just every single day. So allow yourself to feel that feeling, process it, get through your system, and then ask yourself, all right, so how does bother me? And what can I do now? And just do the next best thing. And if the next best thing is a nap, take the nap. you know, if the next best thing is like putting a to-do list and breaking things down into small accomplishable tasks, something that you can check off and be proud of yourself, do that. If it's clean my room, clean the kitchen, you know, things like that, get it done, and then celebrate the fact you did that. We don't reward ourselves the way we probably should, you know, but God, every day, God gives you 24 hours. You got 24 more of them, so be thankful you got them and do the best you can with them, you know.
Man. Listen, I want to say thank you, man, for just being so honest during this conversation because I mean we talked, of course the goal was to talk about the fragrance, but we got into the mental health stuff. And I really just appreciate you doing that, being honest, because I
Yeah,
mean, I went through my divorce and I'm sure a
yeah,
lot of people went through things and the mental health challenges. So it's tough, but
yeah,
I congratulate you for just knowing that you need to take it one day at a time.
yeah.
Congratulations on launching the fragrance. And I'm gonna be the first to say congratulations on the book because I know you're gonna finish it because you're gonna
Indeed.
get in your zone.
Oh yeah. And I would say this too, in the midst of all of this, anybody out here listening that's going through anything, find the things that you can do that have nothing to do with your pain. Um, for me, I had to find stuff to do. Thankful my son, like he became my therapist to a degree. Like who made this kid so wise? You know what I'm saying? But it's like, find something that is you, and can't nobody lay claim to that. So if you're going through a messy breakup, find something you can be productive with that nobody can else come back and say, hey, you got that because of me.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? So you do that and just throw yourself into these things and stay on the creative end of it. Yes, everything can be monetized and turned into a business. But once you lose the love for doing it, it's like a basketball player that lost the love for the game. You
yeah,
know, no one succeeds once they lose the love for something.
yeah. And also, before I end it, man, I gotta say this because I don't know if we said enough, but I genuinely love you, man, because
Oh,
you've
man.
been a brother to me for. I mean, you started out as my teacher. You made immediate impact, and you've just been so helpful and instrumental in my life, just
Man.
all throughout. So I don't want, I don't want to be that person that something, God forbid, something happen. I
Yeah.
want to tell you why you're here, man. I love you and I appreciate you, and I'm excited about everything you got going.
Okay. And I have to give that back, man. I definitely do because I want to make sure as well that I don't leave a person without saying what needs to be said. I absolutely love you, man. I was so impressed by y'all when I started teaching. I loved every student who walked through my door. Great, bad, whatever, graduated, didn't graduate, man. We went to bat for y'all. We loved y'all. And the fact that I was able to kind of grow up with you, that we've been cool and connected all of these years, man. You know, that's I, our relationship and friendship has survived more adult friendships than I've ever had. you know, so I'm closer than you to am with my blood brother. You know what I'm
Wow,
saying? So it's those kinds of things, man. And you got my number anytime you need to call, call. Anytime you're
definitely.
just curious about something. If you just want to say, hey, I sense you're not writing your book now, get on that.
Yeah.
Not trying to take a brief from you. But it was one of those things, man. Like I said, I came to work every day and I'm thankful of this. And this is what I try to tell future teachers that I work with. I came every day trying to impress my students because I knew that they were great. I knew that they were smart. I knew that they were accomplished and they could do whatever they wanted to do. I just wanted to be a piece on that conveyor belt that caught you in the ninth grade and helped you get to the 12th grade and beyond that. You
Yeah.
know, and thankfully, I've had many stories of people who have done exactly that and have done more and surpassed me, in certain things. So I'm like, I can't be mad at that. That's what it's supposed to be.
Yep.
Pass the baton on, and I only pray that you find somebody you can do that for.
Yep. And that's all we're gonna do. We're gonna keep this thing moving forward. So again, thank you, man, for taking this time to do this. And before we end it, please tell the people like how they can follow you and also how they can make purchases of it. Oh,
Yeah.
hold on. Wait a minute, real quick, because I forgot to say this. And I promise y'all, I love the he has two men. He has two men brands. He
Mhm.
has Ascension and Assurance. My favorite is Ascension. I'm gonna be honest. I called him when I smelled it. I called him. I told him I couldn't believe how good it smelled.
Yeah.
Even my mother. My mother is one of the toughest critics. Anybody know me? You know my mother. She's a tough critic. Even she was like, you smell good. You got on a nice cologne today, huh?" So,
Yeah.
it,
That's my favorite too. That's my
it,
favorite too. Like I said, Assurance is good. It's a traditional cologne, but something about that Ascension and it's the simplest blend. I can't tell everybody the percentages, but it's the
no,
simplest
you can't do
blend.
that.
But it took me a while to get to that, like to get to those particular percentages. It took a while to get there, um, because it would do it in drops, right? So I had to get the right number of drops per item. But it is the one that people smell and like, oh wow,
Yeah, I
and it's the
love
simplest one. So I appreciate that, man. And you can find me anywhere on Humere. It's HUMEUR. Um, Humere underscore fragrance on Instagram. Um, Humere.shop is the actual website. And people look at that and think, well, where's the .com? There is a .shop domain. So I bought that one. So you can do www.humere.shop. That's where you'll get it.
it.
But you can find it there. I always run discounts, things like that periodically. So sign up, get involved with it. We got some more things coming. If you really want to do a perfume party, I can travel up to the DC area. If you're in the DC area listening to this, I can go. Right now, my expansion is anywhere from Atlanta to DC. If you
Okay.
want to do a perfume party, I've done a couple and they've been phenomenal. Everyone who's in there walks away with their own body oil and their own perfume or cologne, but
Okay.
you can make them custom yourself.
Wow.
So that's a simple thing, and I don't charge you out the pocket like a lot of people do. you know, I know a lot of people get hit upside the head with like $195, and I walk out with a 2 ounce bottle or something like, wow, you
Mm,
know. But that's we look professional as everyone else, but you walk out with your own thing, and once again, if we want to have a party, we can talk about that. You know, contact me via that or humere.shop@gmail. I'm available. I'm easy to be found.
yeah.
You know.
Well, again, man, thank you for doing this, and I wish you all the best with everything moving
Oh,
forward. I'm excited to see what you do with the cologne.
oh, Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
Definitely. I
All
want
right.
to take the time to thank everyone for watching and listening to the podcast. I truly appreciate your support. You can follow me on Instagram at conversations underscore with underscore lamp. My Facebook is also conversations with lamp. You can watch this episode of the podcast on YouTube, and you can listen to it on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. Again, thank you all for listening. Have a great day.